What's up, internet world, and welcome back to the channel. Today I bring you the 2022 Chevy Silverado. Today is a big day because we finally have a vehicle that is new enough that it might actually hit on YouTube. Now technically it's like 2 months old when you're comparing US, but we are lucky because in Canada we never get cars early. But thanks to Camp Silverado, we have the all-new Silverado ZR2, which was only really available in the Colorado. So it's cool that they're putting something off-roadish and something so big, something that sells really well for them. And if you want something a little bit more luxurious, well, we lightly touch on the high country. So let's get into the ZR2. Now this is a mid-cycle refresh. That usually means they add a few tweaks, like a set of rims, some color, some mirror cap housing, just basic stuff to say, hey, it's the new model. But this is a little bit different because it's actually completely changed on the inside. Because on the outside, it pretty much looks the same as last year's model, except this is a ZR2, so it's higher, more beefy, more Raptor-esque. And you'd like to know that there are 9 different trim levels you can buy in a Silverado and 4 different engines. And even the base model that has been pumped up to 430 pound-feet of torque can still do this. So the 6.2 is the biggest bad boy you can get in the Silverado. However, it's not a new engine. It's actually pretty prehistoric. However, with the new Silverado EV coming out, it doesn't make sense for GM and Chevy to actually redesign a whole new engine. So this is what you get. 2022 Chevy Silverado with a 10-speed, a 6.2 that makes 420 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque. Let's go. There's no sport mode in a ZR2, just foot to the ground. It's trying so hard to push this mammoth down the road. So we'll talk about suspension because I've taken this thing through all kinds of divots and jumps and bumps and all kinds of off-roading and on-street, and that is where the money is. What they've done to this truck is something unique. They're trying to find this touching point between an off-road vehicle and a street vehicle. And the stuff out there, like the Raptor, for example, is more designed for off-road. And the TRX, theoretically, is more designed for on-road, but there's nothing really in the middle that bridges that gap. And maybe this is it. So over the last few days, we've been lucky enough to drive all types of Silverados, and for me, it was trying to drive the base one. It's a 2.7 engine, because it's not about always driving a 6.2, which is what this monster has. It's what the 2.7 can offer, because most people might even look at that with gas prices nowadays. And it's very similar to Ford's 2.7, except this thing makes more torque. It makes 430 pound-feet of torque instead of 400. It makes 310 horsepower instead of 325 to Ford. So more torque, less horsepower, but it's still peppy enough to just kind of chug away. The Silverado is really impressive when not on the tarmac. I took it off-road into the mud. I took it fast, I took it slow. I tried to bang my head off the ceiling, but these shocks, the Multimatic, are so good. Built right here in Canada, they are better than the Fox shocks because they're just more middle. You see, the Fox are more extreme. They're either really stiff or really soft, but these things do a really good job just managing the middle. So the Silverado has something called one-pedal drive. When you put it in terrain mode, it essentially means as soon as I let go of the gas, it automatically slows down, just like a Tesla. But it makes it easy because in all-terrain mode, I simply don't have to touch the brake. I just simply let go of the gas and it slows down in a very slow-acting feel. It just makes it more confident where I don't have to worry about the brake. I just have to think about the gas, and when I'm trying to get up these little muddy spots that are a bit tricky. All right, so just 4 high, going in this bad boy. Woo! Trying to get stuck. You know, it's always about trying to get stuck in these things, and they make it so easy nowadays. Okay, all right. Traction control, forget you, boy. I'm turning my mode into off-road. Throwing some lockers on, you know, just push some buttons. The city boy has no idea what he's doing, so he'll just hit some of these buttons and try to get out of this little mess that I'm in. Oh, just so easy. So easy. So easy. Now I have a 4-hour drive back home, and I knew I could pick from a high country and a ZR2, but I picked the ZR2 because the suspension is really, really good. It does an awesome job on the road. Now when I see something like a ZR2, I'm like, oh, this thing's this higher, it's got big tires, it's lifted, it's gonna be loud, you're gonna get tire noise. But in here, I'm on the highway, and I can do this review and still talk normally and not yell at the camera, which is pretty good, I'd say. Whew, compared to its competition, I'm gonna be honest, never been a huge fan of the front end of the Silverado, but this is different. This is all black grille. It's just wide and meaty, and even these red accents on the logo is kind of cool. These red tow hooks and these lights to make it Raptor-esque. Even the cowl on the hood says 6.2, but when you're driving it, you see how it's shaped and it feels really muscle car-ish. They even have this bumper that's cut off that has an approach angle of 31 degrees, and I wonder what that looks like. There are so many different trim levels in Silverado that this has gloss black. The door handles are gloss black, but the trim is not. But what's different about this ZR2 is it has front and rear lockers. It has aluminum skid plates all across the bottom. It has Multimatic shocks, aka dampers. It's been tuned for the off-roading world. It has a hidden exhaust underneath that sounds so mean. I want you guys to listen to it. So on the back here, there's probably not too much to talk about. Yeah, they've messed around with the rear taillight a little bit. In the back, well, the tailgate we've talked about in the AT4. But the important piece here is something you cannot see, and that's called transparent trailering. And what it essentially does is it stitches the video of the side mirrors and the rear camera with the rear camera of the trailer, and it looks like this. It's pretty cool because what happens is that when you're driving, you can actually see behind you, and that gives you a bit more confidence, and confidence is what we need when we're towing something large. Because you see, the Silverado can tow anywhere from 9,200 pounds all the way up to 13,200 pounds. That's a lot. So you decide to tow a boat or a trailer, but you don't know how much you can actually tow. Well, you're in luck because the new Silverado actually has a VIN sticker that tells you exactly how much you can tow, how much tongue weight, and how much payload you can put in the vehicle. That is cool because when you sell it down the road, you can actually say, yes, this vehicle can tow so and so. Finally, look at this interior. Chevy has got their act together. Because I own a 2021 Ford F-150 V8, and I also own a 2022 Ram Hemi. Both are loaded, and I know what a good interior feels like on a pickup truck. But I've never looked at Chevy because the interiors just sucked. They were so bad, but it did not matter because everybody likes trucks, and they're selling out like crazy, so it didn't even matter. But now maybe it does because they've pumped it up. And they're not using a vertical screen just like everybody else. They're using a horizontal clean screen. They're even pumping up their buttons. Their hard buttons here are nice and clean. Take a look at the HVAC. It's just quality. They've even rubberized these rotary knobs. Even the shifter is electronic and it takes up way less space than anything else. Even the Fords have this silly retractable one that makes no sense. I totally feel you with this, you know, office station Ford. And I'm glad that on the higher trim levels, they have got rid of this shifter up here. On the lower trims, you still get it up here because we just drove a 2.7 and had it up here and I'm like, oh, school bus kind of sucks. So as far as storage goes, there is some storage up here behind this 13-inch screen. There's also some surface area stuff that you can put in different spots. There is wireless charging where you can slide your phone in, super easy to use. I like that it's here and not hidden in the glove compartment. Now, if you do have to plug something in, you do have a USB-C, a USB, and of course, if you want to charge camera batteries, you do have a full-out plug. Now, you can put some file folders in here in case you are in construction and you gotta you know, keep your accounting in check. But everything else is really good. I do like the premium feel of it, and it feels nice and solid. A really good improvement from last year's model, except there ain't no panoramic sunroof. What's up with that? We had all kinds of colors. We had sand dune, blue, and of course the regular black. But we also had different engines and different trim levels. And by trim levels, I mean High Country, the ZR2, and the base one. But if you compare the top two, so the ZR2 and the High Country, the inside kind of looks the same. There's some different door pieces and trim pieces, but essentially it's the same. And that's okay, because this thing has a choice if I want to heat my back or I want to heat my back and my booty. There's two separate buttons. You see, all cars usually have just one button that does back and booty at different heat levels. But here you have two individual buttons. So I have 6 different variations, which is awesome. I also have this button that I can press that puts all the windows down at once, which is cool for a truck. So the reality is, when you're looking to buy a half-ton truck, the outside is as important as the inside. Yes, they've definitely pumped it up on the inside. The screen is awesome. But what does the outside look? And in my opinion, I still think the Ram on the outside, the Ram Sport on the outside still sort of trumps them all. It just looks so cool in black, black on black, everything just looks like money. The F-150 though, it's sort of mundane and kind of boring in my opinion. And this thing here, the inside is money, the outside, even with all the different grills they have, still it's just shy of the Ram in my opinion. Now ride is a big one. And this F-150 is still the smoothest of the lot. It's the most couch-like, lumpiest of them all. The Ram is fairly firm. It's kind of somewhere in the middle, and this thing is just hard and solid in the High Country. The actual ZR2 is actually softer when I'm driving on the highway than the High Country was. I remember driving this road exactly the other way around, and it was just more firm, more bumpy in the High Country, and it's luxury. So interesting stuff. So I hope you guys like this video on this ZR2 and High Country Silverado. Please comment below, and as always, thanks for watching.